This first clip shows an outburst in a Columbus, Georgia courtroom in 2011. The defendant, Zydarius Platt, was in court, pleading not guilty for the 2009 murder of his pregnant girlfriend.
Don't get up!
Keep him down.
Don't get up now!
Calm down. Calm down. Got the taser. We're fixing the taser now. Don't calm down. Fixing the taser. Don't do it.
Don't do it!
Calm down.
Don't do it!
Calm down.
Don't do it!
Here.
Give me your arm! Give me your arm! It's on your back right now! Don't do it! Don't do it!
As Pratt walks into the courtroom, the brother of the victim, 30-year-old Gerald Carter, grabbed a chair and threw it at the suspect. He screamed that he wanted to kill Platt. You can really feel the emotion in Carter's voice as he is restrained by the bailiffs here.
Hold on! Give me your arm now!
Calm down.
Jared, this is not married. I want you to calm down right now.
You die! And you deserve it! My sister!
Calm down.
Relax, man.
Calm down now. Calm down.
Sorry.
My sister!
We had to do that. I know. It
I'd kill it! He should die! Give him to me!
Carter told the Columbus Ledger-Inquirer that a lot of rage and anger surfaced at the hearing, and that he can't get the crime out of his mind. This video made me feel for the victim's family here. Carter was restrained in time, thankfully, since he clearly had a desire to harm the defendant. My heart goes out to the family of the victim here.
I'll kill you! What's the ass? He told my sister to dick! That shit wasn't nothing! He killed my sister! I'll kill him! I promise you I'll kill him! I'll kill him! I'll kill him!
He eventually decompensated to the point where he was sitting in a fetal position, naked, not eating, and not interacting with any human being.
Yeah, but my son.
This next outburst was emotional since it was the father of the victim who was shot. In June 2012, Lukachi Kendall was a security guard at a strip club Lex in Miami, Florida.
David, man. My son, he need to go to prison. He don't need to be laying no mental hospital. He need to go to prison, man. Come on, sir. He want to play crazy. He wasn't crazy when he murdered my son, man. He wasn't crazy then, but he crazy now. All of a sudden he crazy now. You want to lay in a mental hospital? You done murdered my son, man, for nothing. When he was trying to get away from you. You were trying to get away from you, man. And you kept shooting him while his back was under the truck. You kept shooting him, man. You kept shooting him.
He was working security for the club and approached two black males in a vehicle outside the club because he smelled the odor of marijuana coming from the gray Ford pickup. Kendall, a former 190-pound bodybuilder nicknamed Juice, later said they were watching him menacingly and rolling what he thought was a joint.
In his back was turned to you, man. He was trying to get away from you, and you murdered him, man, like that. You murdered him, man, like that. Why you doing it like that, man? Then you want to play crazy, man?
Michael Smathers and his friend Kawan Bird were parked in the truck as Kendall asked them to exit with their hands up. No other words were exchanged when Kendall began to fire, leaving Smathers paralyzed, and Bird was killed. In court, Bird's father became emotional as Kendall pleaded insanity and was sentenced to a mental hospital. This one really got to me because you can see the love that the father had for his son whilst being escorted from the courtroom. This was really sad to see here.
He ain't crazy! He ain't crazy, man!
I'm gonna take a break for the gentleman.
Instigating the horrific day of the Chardon High School shooting on February 27, 2012 comes TJ Lane, whom by judging by his court video did not regret his actions when randomly killing 3 students and injuring another 3 with a handgun. TJ was tried for 3 counts of murder, where he baffled the jury with his defense.
All rise. The Geauga County Court of Common Pleas is now in session. The Honorable David L. Fury presiding.
Please be seated.
Thomas Michael T. J. Lane III was 17 years old when he shot 6 former students at Chardon High School in Chardon, Ohio. Lane killed 3 and injured 3 more with a Ruger Mk3 target .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun.
Please be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. To my left is Nicholas Burling, Geauga County Assistant Prosecutor. Mark Bartolotta, Geauga.
Likely knowing he'd lose the case, he jokingly wore a shirt reading
I
"Killer."
will miss Demetrius, and I have enough memories to last me a lifetime. That child stole my baby's life, and he should never be able to do this to anyone ever again. Thank you.
Lane had a personal rivalry with the 3 victims that were killed, one of whom was dating Lane's former girlfriend. The courtroom outburst by Lane here was repulsive. You can hear Lane state to the victims' parents, "This hand that murdered your sons now masturbates to their memory."
I hate you for the pain you have caused, Nick. You chased him down the hall and fired the last bullet that paralyzed him. You're lucky I have to read this because I'd be staring at you the whole time. Why? Why did you do it? Why? Nick is a very kind and loving. Why would you want to hurt him? You don't know kind. You're evil.
As you can see, to us, the defendant no longer has a name.
This shows that Lane had no remorse for his actions. TJ Lane was truly a douchebag. The families were really emotional, and you can hear in their voices here that they really held a distaste for Lane and would have liked to have him put into the gas chamber.
To us, he is the shooter who stole my loving brother Russell away from us. He's the evil, disgusting animal that took a gun into a place that is supposed to be safe and murdered 3 amazing, handsome, funny, smart boys who were loved by so many people. He's the monster that injured 3 others and hurt thousands more with his actions. Your Honor, the defendant, the shooter, took so much away from so many people. I strongly feel that he deserves to spend the rest of his life in prison without any option of parole. No one should be able to take the lives of 3 young men who were doing what they were supposed to and get a second chance. Also, I would like to mention one last thing. A few weeks prior to the shooting, Russell told one of his close friends that he wanted to start hanging out with the shooter again. He told his friend that they used to be friends and grew apart over the years. I hope that is something the shooter will never forget. He wanted to be his friend. He felt sorry for him. Thank you.
You murdered my son, Danny. You are a killer. You're a pathetic excuse for a human being. In fact, you're not even a human being. You don't deserve to be called human. You're a monster and will forever be titled a triple murderer. I have many more words I wish I could say that would express my pure disgust and hatred for you. But unlike you...
As you could imagine, Lane would smirk and smile as the families remarked about their murdered children, as they had done nothing to provoke their killer. Lane wore a shirt that said "Killer" written on the front in court. This shows that Lane was a true sadist and enjoyed making other people suffer.
As we've seen today, I obey the law That's why I'm standing here, a free person, something you will never be. I hope you have a cold, rough, unkind, harsh prison life with monsters like yourself. I want you to endure years and years of pain and abuse, which is, in my opinion, not harsh enough. If I had my choice, you would die an extremely slow, torturous death. You don't deserve to take another breath while my 16-year-old son Danny lies in the cold ground because of your disgusting, selfish, and cowardly actions. You need to spend the rest of your life in prison with monsters like yourself. You're a weak, pathetic, vile coward.
Saying to pull the trigger to kill your son, now it masturbates to memory of you.
All right. Hey, that's all your client has to say, Mr. Friedman.
Do you swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
I did.
All right, you've just been placed on the oath. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to understand if you answer any of those questions.
Andrew Delkey. May you all.
This next clip was very disturbing to watch. The mother of a victim shot by the police has a wild courtroom outburst. You can hear the despair in the voice of the mother.
In Davidson County, indicted Andrew Delkey on first-degree premeditation. I can't believe it! Because of you! Because of you! I lost my father, my son's father, because of you! Because of you! No!
Okay. Don't harm anyone.
It is clear that she cared for her son who was shot and killed by police greatly. I always felt bad for the family members that lose control of their emotions in court when their children or someone close to them is killed in that way. The mom keeps repeating, "Because of you, my child was killed." It's so sad to see this type of outburst. However, you can feel her emotions when she talks about her son.
Don't come up here. Just hold it.
And then just shot him right in the head and kept shooting.
Luis Enrique Monroy Bracamontes is a Mexican convicted murderer who killed 2 police officers in Northern California. This clip was so disturbing for me to witness. This man clearly has no remorse, and look at the way he smiles and laughs at the pain in the faces of the 2 officers' families.
Though the man you see smiling and smirking has officially entered a not guilty plea, Luis Bracamontes has sounded like anything but an innocent man.
Ladies and gentlemen, please step out of the hallway.
That was part of his expletive-filled rant on Tuesday inside a Sacramento County courtroom. The Mexican illegal immigrant with an extensive criminal history went on to say he should have killed more cops back in October of 2014 when he gunned down Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Danny Oliver.
Bracamontes stated, "When I get out, I will kill again." Luckily for society, he will never get released from prison. Bracamontes is a citizen of Mexico and a convicted drug dealer who was in the United States illegally. Bracamontes was sentenced to death in 2018. The sentence definitely fit the crime. This man has no conscience and needed to be put down like a sick animal.
And Placer County Sheriff's Detective Michael Davis Jr.
I will break out soon, and I will kill more.
His lawyer even admits his client pulled the trigger. So why is the Bracamontes trial to decide his guilt or innocence moving forward, and has ruled Bracamontes is competent to stand trial? Legal experts say that doesn't mean his lawyers...
That's not me at all. That's not me at all.
know what I'm saying? I've been standing by my innocence since day one, and continue to stand by it. It's only right.
Let me just tell you.
This man stands by his innocence in the face of the murdered victims' family members. I think that he knew he was guilty and spoke to the family only to taunt them. You can see that he is smirking while he states that he was always innocent of the crimes. The mother and family clearly do not believe anything he says.
Yes. Let me just tell you this. You shut the hell up! You shut up!
Benjamin Teixeira, the man convicted of murdering 2 doctors inside their South Boston penthouse, was sentenced Friday to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 5 other charges by a jury on Tuesday.
You want to know his last words?
Be quiet.
He said no.
Be quiet.
He would have died.
Down,
Always die
quiet
inside.
down, sir.
And he
Let's go. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Guilty of murder in the first degree.
Hey, yo, Papas, you better hope that I never get out of jail.
His refusal to sit quietly disrupted and prolonged one of the final chapters in a gut-wrenching journey to justice for 2 South Boston doctors murdered in cold blood some 2.5 years ago.
Your wife.
Benjamin Teixeira threatening to sexually assault the lead prosecutor's wife before the jury was brought in for its second day of deliberations, and the ruthless killings of engaged anesthesiologists Lena Bolanos and Richard Field, the couple found by police with their hands.
Surely this man's motive was for money. He shot these 2 doctors in order to rob them. Thankfully, he did not succeed on his attempt and was apprehended. Scum such as this should never be free to stalk society ever again. It's upsetting to know that there are such people roaming the streets today.
Cuffed and throats slashed in their Southie penthouse in May of 2017 after being brought back into the courtroom on verdict day following his first outburst. Teixeira didn't maintain order for long.
You want to know his last words?
Be quiet.
He said no.
Be quiet.
He was dragged out of court for a second time after turning his taunts toward the families of the victims, left in tears. Teixeira was absent as he was found guilty on all 7 counts, including first-degree murder, home invasion, and kidnapping.
He just really exposed, what his intent was in Penthouse A that night in the courtroom today.
We're confident he'll be spending the rest of his natural life in jail, and we'll add some more years on top of that for what he did today.
Of a firearm on the 2 felony ones, there is a presumption in favor of prison, and there is not a lick of evidence here by which
this guy finds out he is getting 20 years to serve and goes ballistic on the judge. His friend in court tries to encourage him to keep quiet, which is the best thing to do in this situation.
the court could override that presumption in favor of prison. The court determines that prison is needed to protect the public from future crime, that a minimum sentence would demean the seriousness of this offender's conduct. The court believes that consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public and punish this offender. They would not be disproportionate to his conduct and the danger he poses, that the crimes were committed while on post-release control, that the harm is so great or unusual that a single term would not adequately reflect the seriousness of his conduct, and his criminal history shows that consecutive terms are needed to protect the public from future crime. Accordingly, it is the sentence of this court, Anson Bryant, that you serve a period of incarceration in state prison. The court hereby terminates your post-release control, and I am imposing the balance through November 15th of 2020. I believe that comes up to $620.
The judge will always give you more time when you throw an outburst like this. He keeps getting more time but fails to stop screaming at the top of his lungs in anger towards the judge. This clip was funny as hell.
23 days, according to the DRC's calculation. The court sentences you to prison on count 1, aggravated burglary, felony 1, for 8 years, and 3 years on the firearm specification. The court sentences you on count 3, aggravated robbery, felony 1, to a period of incarceration in state prison for 8 years, plus 3 years on the firearm specification. The court sentences you on count 6, weapons under disability, felony 3, for 36 months. And on count 7, CCW, felony 4, for 18 months. The court makes the 2 weapons charges, count 6 and 7, concurrent with each other and concurrent to all of the other charges, the offenses. However, the court makes the 2 F1s consecutive with one another, and therefore the order of serving your prison time would be PRC time first, followed by the gun spec on count 1, followed by the gun spec on count 3, followed by count 1, followed by count 2, for a total of 22 years with credit for 231 days. The court determines that you have or will have the ability to pay restitution.
Fuck your courtroom, you racist ass bitch! Fuck your courtroom, man! You racist as fuck! You racist as fuck! Nigga, 22 fucking years! You racist ass bitch! You ain't shit! Nigga, Gay Sturgeon, Lisa Sturgeon told me about that bullshit.
Actually, you know what? Remember when I said that you had some remorse? Wait a minute. When I said that you had a certain amount of remorse, I was mistaken. The court determines that maximum imprisonment is needed, so it's 11 years on count 1 and 11 years on count 3.
You racist bitch! You ain't shit! Manson, calm down, bro. Let me up the courtroom, man! Take him out. Hey, just take him out. Just take him out. Get out of here. You racist! That shit bullshit! You racist as fuck! Hey, take him out, please. Hey, take him out, please. I love you, bro. I love you, man. Don't worry. I love you, Chad.
So that's 28 years with credit for 231 days.
I don't want to hear it, man. Let me out. Just go. Let me out.
Hold on.
I don't want to hear it. No. Let me out. Let him go. Let me out. Just take him out. Let me out, man. I swear to God, turn up this bitch.
Does counsel waive the client's presence for the remainder of the advisements I have to give?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can take them.
Bitch, you are a gangster. Hey, thank you, Dennis. I love you. Thank you, sir.
Court determines that the defendant has shown no remorse whatsoever. I was giving him remorse, a certain amount of remorse in mitigation of the sentence. The defendant has shown me that he has no remorse whatsoever, and therefore the court determines that maximum imprisonment is needed. He poses the greatest likelihood of recidivism. So I believe I stated that restitution in the amount of $1,298 to victim Arturo Gonzalez, judgment rendered for that amount to be monitored by the Ohio Adult Parole Authority, payable through the clerk of courts. Defendants to forfeit all items in the specification, being the pistol and ammunition, to pay the cost, for a total of 22 years with credit for 231 days. The court determines that you have or will have the ability to pay restitution.
Fuck your courtroom, you racist ass bitch! Fuck your courtroom, man! You racist as fuck! You racist as fuck! Nigga, 22 fucking years! You racist ass bitch! You ain't shit! Nigga, James Sturgeon, Lisa Sturgeon told me about that bullshit.
Actually, you know what? Remember when I said that you had some remorse? Wait a minute. When I said that you had a certain amount of remorse, I was mistaken. The court determines that maximum imprisonment is needed. So it's 11 years on count 1 and 11 years on count 3.
You racist bitch! You ain't shit! Manson, calm down, bro. Let me up the courtroom, man! Take him out. Hey, just take him out. Just take him out. Get out of here. You racist! That shit bullshit! You racist as fuck! Hey, take him out, please. Hey, take him out, please. I love you, bro. I love you, man. I love you, Chad.
So it's 28 years with credit for 231 days.
I don't want to hear it, man. Let me out. Let's go. Let me out.
Hold on.
I don't want to hear it. Let's go. Let me out. Let him go. Let me out. Let's take him out. Let me out, man. I swear to God, turn up in this bitch.
Does counsel waive the client's presence for the remainder of the advisements I have to give?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can take them.
Bitch, you are a gangster. Hey, thank you, James. Thank you, sir.
Court determines that the defendant has shown no remorse whatsoever. I was giving him remorse, a certain amount of remorse in mitigation of the sentence. The defendant has shown me that he has no remorse whatsoever, and therefore the court determines that maximum imprisonment is needed.
I'm a grown man. I got God.
I know you do and you feel that way, but you should talk to your lawyer.
Markeith Lloyd made it a point this afternoon to speak up, not about the motions brought before the court, but how he's been treated.
I'm facing the lecture back then, but somebody else I have absolutely don't know nothing about. And they framed me.
Today's hearing was to address 3 motions and material Lloyd's attorney requested: a raw television interview from a local TV station, wiretaps involving his client, and any information regarding an excessive use of force investigation involving the late Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. An attorney for the TV station said the raw footage is no longer available. The judge ruling it's now a moot point. The 2 other motions were granted.
Now they will try to come up with a better. I don't care. I got God. I got the truth.
All right, Mr. Lloyd.
In between those motions, Lloyd's commentary.
Mr.
I ain't hurt nobody. I ain't never hurt nobody.
In the end, Lloyd saying his piece and saying goodbye to his family as he awaits his next court hearing.
I've lost laughter and love. I no longer have.
17-year-old Dante Wright sat smiling and nearly laughing as his victims' family members read impact statements before the court. This teenager murdered 18-year-old Jordan Clay whilst trying to rob him with 2 other teens.
The hope of having grandchildren. I've lost the enjoyment of holidays and birthdays and of everyday life.
Wright addressed the court showing no remorse.
I just want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon. I love my family.
Jordan Michael Clay, born July 26, 1998. Murdered October 4th, 2016, at 18 years old. Jordan has no future. Jordan can no longer choose to go to college. Jordan can no longer choose to change. Jordan can no longer make a difference. Jordan can no longer fall in love or have a family. Jordan no longer has a future. I've lost my only child, my son, my baby, my friend. More than that, I've lost laughter and love. I no longer have the hope of having grandchildren. I've lost.
The smile on this kid's face shows that either he was too immature to realize what he had done, or he had no conscience and felt no remorse whatsoever. The judge was not happy with his smiling and smirking at the victim's family. I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentencing agreement and we'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life.
The enjoyment of holidays and birthdays and of everyday life. As a mother, or any parent ages, her children are there to care for her. But now in my life, I walk this journey alone. I no longer have that luxury because that was carelessly and cruelly taken from me. I no longer get to see the smile of my son when he walks through the door and brings me a Frosty from Wendy's at the end of his shift. The simple pride of a hard work shift and bringing his mom something that just makes her happy. Songs we used to enjoy, I can no longer listen to. Movie nights we did together no longer exist. I could continue with all the loss. I won't. This year was supposed to be a year of celebration, of senior pictures with prom and graduation and parties. Instead, it was a nightmare that no parent should ever endure. On the nights I managed to sleep, I wake up hearing my son scream for me, to then have to realize all over again, night after night, my son is dead, gone, taken. For what? Why? Can you answer the question? Why? Why? I have an answer. Your answer will never be good enough. There will never be an answer good enough to satisfy why you shot my son.
This is what the judge had to say. I really feel for the family here. This guy seems like a real scumbag. You can tell he just doesn't care about what he had done. The judge was ready to throw the book at this kid for his reaction in court, and it was well deserved. You'll agree after watching this waste of life.
Why you thought that what you had should be yours. Why you felt that what you wanted, you were entitled to. Why you thought his death was an acceptable response to your jealousy or desire to what he had. Drugs, clothes, money, jewelry, bones, shoes, whatever it was that you felt you needed more than his life. Your why will never be better than his life. Your want will never trump my son's death. You get to live. You get to wake up every day. Your life continues. I sincerely hope that whatever it was you wanted so badly that you felt the need to murder my son was worth the next at least 52 years of your continued existence. You won't get the luxury of raising your child because you took mine away. So because for the first time in my life, I feel hate in my heart, here is what I hope. I hope that every time you want for a jacket, that you stay cold. I hope that every time you want for shoes, you get a hole in yours. I hope that every time you want for a meal, you go hungry. And hope that every time you want for a bed, you have a sleepless night. I hope that every time you wish for your mother, she doesn't come for a visit. But more than anything, because we, and I, am nothing like you. I don't wish or hope any of that upon you. I simply wish that you go to prison for the maximum time your plea agreement allows, that you become something more than what you were taught to be in your miserable life, and that your child gets brought up far away from the life you led, because it's obvious to me and everyone here that you need help. Your actions have led you to a prison cell, but have also created an empty cell that I live in every day. While you can still hope to be released one day, I'll never escape my help. You are still alive, but Jordan has no future. Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon. I love my family.
That's all you got to say. You know, I have never in 23 years approximately ever not accepted a sentence agreement between the parties because it's bargained for, sentenced by the parties. But watching you sit there, smile and laugh and shake your head like this was no big deal, I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there. That's what I'm tempted to do. Mr. Bella, do you want me to accept this sentence agreement?
Your Honor, may we approach prison?
Yes.
And he was taken from us.
Tyle Webster went before Judge Jody Lubers Thursday after being convicted of killing Grover Cleveland Watson Jr. The victim's sister, Carolyn O'Brien, who is legally blind, spoke in court and forgave her brother's killer. You could see the pain in her face. Her brother's killing was done in revenge over an argument between Webster and Grover Cleveland Watson Jr., the victim.
On my brother's birthday, which hurts very, very much.
As the victim's family shared their pain, Tyrell Webster smirked. Routine questions before sentencing got responses like this.
Do that matter?
Yes, it does.
Last spring, Grover Cleveland Watson Jr. was gunned down during an argument. Today, Watson's sister, who is legally blind, stood before Judge Jody Lubers and asked exactly where her brother's killer was standing so she could look at him as she spoke. Her initial offer of forgiveness?
But when I heard the story on the news, the first thing I did after I could close my mouth was just to ask God to forgive you. Because you didn't know what you were doing.
Turned cold.
Just so you know, he's laughing right now. I really don't care about this, because you know what, you laughing now. But the moment they get you behind those prison walls for the rest of your life, you will be somebody's girlfriend. And that smile will no longer be on your face. It will be tears.
The judge sentenced Webster to 18 years to life behind bars. From the Hamilton County Courthouse, Andrew Setters, WLWT News.
I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
Mr. O'Neill,
All right.
Listen, stop.
All right.
Listen to me.
I'm not
You're not going to raise your voice again.
I'm not going to raise my voice again. I'm not.
I will have you removed from this courtroom. I can sentence you without you being present.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't conduct
I
yourself.
understand, Your Honor.
Thank you.
But I will say, I'm sorry for your loss.
19 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable. You name it, I've seen it. Shootings, stabbings, drownings, suffocatings, blown apart by cars, some DUI manslaughter cases, horrible things. This is the worst case I have ever seen as far as the facts go. when the person from fire department, when he testified, and when he said that he retrieved the body of Ronivia O'Neill from the home, and all he could do was sob. It took every ounce I had not to start sobbing too. Because there is no way any person with any feeling could have witnessed or seen the photos of what occurred that night and not be haunted for the rest of your life.
We're going to see if it's true.
But what happened to little Ronivia and to little Ronnie, but I'm going to focus on Ronivia because she was special. And you could tell Miss Barron had done everything she could to create a beautiful home for her family. I noticed that the Ronivia's bedroom, before you set it on fire, you could tell she tried so hard to make her feel like a princess. Kenyatta did everything she could. And I noticed too in the kitchen, on the refrigerator, she put up magnets that said faith, love, family, hope. And then you know what else happened at the refrigerator during that night? It got splattered with blood all over it due to what happened. Little Ronivia, she couldn't scream, she couldn't run away, and she witnessed what you did to her mother as far as shooting her mother in the arm with the gunshot. She knew. And the horror that that child suffered. And she already had a life where she was born with challenges regarding her physical and her mental disabilities. But the pain and suffering that she suffered that night at your hands, unspeakable, absolutely unspeakable. And at the moment,
Triggy Ramel Diggs was killed late on the night of April 1st by what police believe could have been a random shot fired from a nearby gas station. This 15-year-old boy was the person arrested for the shooting from a random shot fired near a gas station on Easter Sunday. The family goes apeshit in court as the teenager has to be removed from the courtroom. I can feel for the victim here since he was only 3 years old. I think that I would have reacted similarly if I were in their shoes.
For 2 years, this senseless hate crime that was deliberately and
manufactured.
You need to be quiet or you're going to be removed from the courtroom.
Sorry, you guys can just tell me, I really don't care. I'm the victim. You're on video macing me. Liar.
Right
Liar. Liar. You're not the only black person on max. Liar. Manufacturing hate crimes. You liar. Yeah.
Liar.
Yeah, you're on video, you liar. Come in court, lie. You're a hate crime.
This white guy killed a black man over a racial issue. The victim's sister asked the judge not to postpone the trial. I think that this guy got what was coming to him after all the racial things he stated in court. This guy seems like another piece of crap. It's sad to see what this country is becoming.
Manufacturing hate crimes since 2017. Yeah, keep pouring weird.
Okay, so for the moment, for this hearing, for purposes of this hearing, Mr. Christian has forfeited his right to be present given his outbursts and inability to listen to testimony. So we will continue with testimony.
Okay, thank you so much. For 2 years, this senseless hate crime that was deliberately and intentionally committed by a racist white supremacist affects our lives. Our family lives, our friends' lives, negatively, every day.
History in the making. It was the longest trial that had ever happened in California.
The 154 volumes of transcript bear evidence to what may be the most surprising, unusual, and difficult trial in years.
Each day stranger than the last. At one point, Charles Manson even attacked his own attorney. By the third month, observers thought they'd seen it all. But then...
It was probably the most dramatic moment in the trial.
Bill Robles was a sketch artist in attendance.
Manson talked to the judge saying, somebody should cut your head off. And all of a sudden he leaped from his chair in midair, clutching a sharpened pencil like a knife, and a bailiff tackled him in midair and he dropped the pencil.
Did people gasp? I mean...
Oh, totally. I mean, everybody was like stunned.
I don't think his reach was quite that far, but Charlie would have killed him for sure.
I want to know what I'm guilty, all right? I'm guilty. They're telling me not to be guilty.
Accused.
And are you asking for appointment, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. He has been screened. He qualifies for our office to represent him. At this point, I don't know who from our office will represent him, but he will certainly be represented by our office.
Thank you. This is Mr. Benitez. So the public defender is appointed. This is Mr. Benitez's arraignment on the 2 charges, one being murder and one is no pistol without a permit. And the bail commissioner is present. I'd like to hear the recommendation of the bail commissioner.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm going to recommend $1 million on this matter. This defendant is 22 years old. He's a lifelong resident, completed the 11th grade. He's currently being held in a bond over $750,000. Your Honor, this defendant currently has 2 files pending at a GA-13 that are both down for June 18th. The first file, Your Honor, is for conspiracy to commit larceny 6. And conspiracy to commit larceny 4. The second file, Your Honor, is for a larceny 5, 2 counts. He's currently being held, Your Honor, on $50 on each of those files. Additionally, Your Honor, the defendant currently has 2 files pending at a GA-14 that are both down for May 10th. The first file, Your Honor, is for attempted murder and 2 counts of assault 1 and carrying a pistol without a permit. He's currently being held in a total bond of $750,000 on that file. And the other file, Your Honor, is for interfering in an FDA second. He was given a promise to appear on that file. He has 1 conviction.
It was the outburst that shocked the courtroom.
Convicted rapist and kidnapper Anthony Rodriguez was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. Rodriguez raped a woman in March 2012 in Martin Luther King Jr. Park, Bakersfield, police have said. He was arrested May 4, 2012 after DNA evidence linked him to the crime.
Anthony Rodriguez had just turned 18 and was on probation when he was arrested for sexually assaulting a 25-year-old woman at MLK Park. The victim was taken 105 feet, dragged from outside the park and into the MLK Park men's bathroom where she was assaulted.
You
give a young kid like that 30 years to life, chances are you're not going to see that kid again.
With tears in his eyes.
Rapists are not treated well in prison. With a 30-year sentence, even at 19 years old, it's unlikely Rodriguez will see the light of day ever again. Rapists and child molesters like him are usually killed in jail as a direct result of their crimes by other prisoners.
Rodriguez yelled profanity, calling the ruling unfair.
That's all you do is throw people away like that. Mr. Rodriguez, down now.
Rodriguez has previous arrests for acts of violence, but nothing sexual. His family feels his sentence was a bit extreme.
Look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the face of somebody that is filled with hatred. Look at the face of a coward.
You can step back in the back.
After 9 days of arguments and testimony in the Officer Sean Bolton murder trial, emotions ran high in the courtroom shortly before a jury sentenced Tremaine Wilborn.
Justice was done, the jury did their job, and the attorneys did their job, and that's what our system of justice is all about.
Tuesday's closing arguments included Wilborn's upbringing and why the jury should spare his life. A key witness was Wilborn's grandmother.
She's a wonderful person. I mean, that comes through. She's sincere. And the jury saw that and saw how much Tremaine is loved by his family.
Prosecutors say Bolton's family felt the jury rendered a fair verdict.
They wanted the jury to make the decisions. They didn't want to make it for themselves. And given his attitude during the whole proceeding, it was clear that he was not a bit remorseful.
And Memphis Police Director Mike Rollins was inside of the courtroom offering his respects.
Hopefully this brings the family some sort of closure.
Want to face trial day?
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be fun, then you make another speech.
I do have reason to believe that...
And your life doesn't have to be over because of a poor choice. You just have to accept responsibility for it and find a way.
The victims in court when they were giving their impact statement.
Negative situation.
Amanda, look what you did to my life. You ruined everything I had, like my dad's life.
You can go too. Whoever can sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member, this is a court of law. You cannot come down to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice and act any way you want to act. Because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail. Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt.
The judge sentenced the mother to 93 days in jail. After she apologized to the court, the judge reduced the sentence to only 1 day and she was released the next day. She really should not have laughed at the victims. Since the victim was black and the Kozels were white, I believe it was racially motivated. Amanda Kozel was sentenced to 3 to 15 years in jail and is still currently incarcerated.
Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt. It'll be the sentence of this court that you will serve 3 to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. If there's nothing further, that concludes this matter. Ms. Coulson, is there something you'd like to say?
Yes, I deeply apologize for what I did. I was under a lot of stress. And I deeply apologize for what I did in your court. I just needed to get out. And it's been very hard for me this year, and I know for the other family. And I'm so sorry for what I did. And I know it was wrong, and I apologize.
I know people watch a lot of shows on TV where you see different things happening in make-believe courtrooms that give people a skewed sense of reality, but this is real life here, and we just can't have people behaving like that. It can't be tolerated. So I will modify your sentence for direct criminal contempt from 93 days to 1 day with credit for time served, and you should be released today.
God bless you, thank you. And I apologize very solely and for the other family.
Lady is innocent like a church wall.
This was the scene shortly after 11 a.m. as Aubrey Trail is heard yelling his co-defendant Bailey Boswell's innocence, cutting his own neck, and falling forward out of his wheelchair. Deputies immediately rushed to Trail to subdue him. The judge then told the pool camera to stop recording. He was wheeled out of the courthouse, loaded into an ambulance, and taken to the hospital. Now, this area here behind me is where authorities wheeled out Aubrey Trail earlier this afternoon after he cut his own throat in court. Now, it's unclear if this is the door he's been entering or if his security procedures are different than those who are coming through the front door of the Saline County Courthouse. Trail's attorneys told me that he got several stitches at the hospital, but was discharged this afternoon and is expected to be in the courtroom tomorrow morning.
I'm going to order you to disregard the outburst that you heard this morning and to not consider it in your deliberations at the end of the trial.
The judge has also ordered that Trail now must appear in the courtroom in handcuffs.
Your job is to do your job, not to worry about me. That's what I'm saying. Well, I worry about me. You worry about your self.
That's Bryce Rhodes talking to Judge Charles Cunningham. Rhodes is accused of shooting Christopher Jones, then stabbing to death 2 witnesses, 14-year-old Larry Ordway and 16-year-old Maurice Gordon. Rhodes has already been through 2.
The January trial for triple murder defendant Bryce Rhodes was delayed again after defense attorneys asked for a competency evaluation, claiming Rhodes had an intellectual disability that would prohibit prosecutors from seeking the death penalty. Rhodes was forced to be placed into a spit mask during one of the hearings. This guy is clearly not in a healthy state of mind. When you watch this clip, you can tell that Rhodes appears to be faking insanity, as many do with these types of cases.
Attorneys, and is now asking for his 3rd one to be removed.
I'll just ask you, why do you keep refusing to get this man off my case when we keep having problems? Do you have something personal against me to where you don't want to remove him?
No, sir. I have something personal against not providing you effective assistance of counsel.
Judge Cunningham says he has already called the State Public Defender's Office.
They had struggled to find someone who could represent you, and that basically Mr. Griffiths is what they've got.
Rhodes once had to wear a face mask because he spit on an attorney.
I write the Bar Association and the ACLU, you know. I write them, you know. I see what's going on, you know.
Fair enough. Let's get us a date to come back.
No. You're going to find out, though. You're gonna find out real quick. Promise that.
The exchange angered the grandmother of Ordway and Gordon, who were brothers.
This is going on for 4 years, and nothing's been done.
She later apologized.
The judge he like he said, he wants everything dotted. He wants to do it everything's done the right way, regardless of what Mr. Bryce Rose is saying in there.
But she remains frustrated.
He's just playing the system. He's playing them. Thank you.
He did. He said, "I'm gonna kill you." Didn't you see that? Man,
He was looking at you. You wouldn't.
he was looking at me. He said he's gonna kill me. Man,
He object that we have an unknown man interrupting a court proceeding at this point in time.
Thank you, Counselor. I will concede he is unknown and potentially, if he wishes to speak, you might want to speak at the trial as opposed to the arraignment. Counselor, if you will indulge me for one moment, Frida, would you let him in for one moment so I can just get his name and address him in person? Can you push the button? I'm sorry. I don't know who's got a button. Sir, you're not to look at the audience or communicate. No one communicates with the star right there. If you do, you will be removed and the prisoner will be removed. And no cell phones. Anyone with cell phones, I tell you now to turn them off or the deputies will confiscate them. You can get them tomorrow after 4D. Sir, will you be so kind as to please state to the court what your name is?
My name is G.W. Fuller.
F-U-L-L-E-R
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the court record?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fuller, this charge involving the defendant is from February 20th of 2010.
Yes, ma'am.
It has nothing to do with
I
the
understand
incident
that.
this weekend. You need to be present for discussions in the courtroom where it's being held. This is not the forum to discuss that because
Yes,
he is
ma'am.
not charged with anything from the weekend. You understand that,
Yes,
sir?
ma'am. I just want Your Honor to know that there was an incident over the
Okay, but
weekend
thank
involving
you,
the
sir.
same
That's
dog.
not part of, I'm not considering that as part of this record, okay? I understand what your issue is, sir, but that's not, he's not being charged with that.
Well, he is. We're upstairs right now
Sir,
filing
but
charges.
not in what's in front of me, you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I gave you an
Yes,
opportunity
ma'am.
so I could explain, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you may go back out, sir, and go back upstairs and deal with it. Thank you. And sir, keep your face towards this way or you're going out.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
he didn't threaten me.
He didn't threaten
He
you.
did.
He did.
Yeah, he did. He said, "I'm gonna kill you." Didn't you see that?
Man,
We're looking at you, you wouldn't.
Yeah, he was looking at me. He said he's gonna kill me.
he did make a
Yes,
menacing
sir.
gesture out to this man. He turned, made a menacing gesture right in front of him.
Counselor, on the dog case, do you wish to resolve it, or did you want to have a bond?
We would enter not guilty plea, Your Honor.
And is it academic because of the other two cases?
I would note that Mr. Moore has provided a good local address. His source of income is Social Security, he's 34 years old, single with 4 children.
$1,000 cash.
I wouldn't go let you steal my phone. I wouldn't go let you steal my phone. I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you.
The sentence is 18 to 20 years to serve.
James Burke, 52, of Burlington, is still behind bars and made his appeal by telephone, telling the Supreme Court justices he's innocent and his rape conviction should be reversed. In 2010, Burke was sentenced to 18 to 20 years behind bars for the sexual assault of a young homeless woman. He yelled slurs at Judge Matthew Katz and called Chittenden County State's Attorney T.J. Donovan corrupt before being led away in handcuffs.
Known for his courtroom outburst, James Burke was led away in handcuffs, yelling slurs at the judge as he walked away.
This is a travesty of justice, a miscarriage of justice. You're a piece of I'm going to write the Iranian embassy, you
In May, he was convicted of raping a 21-year-old homeless woman who he offered a place to sleep one night in 2004. He is now sentenced to spend the next 18 to 20 years behind bars.
This is a man who, over the course of decades, has preyed on the weak and particularly on women who were in a position of being weak.
Object. Throughout the proceedings, he constantly interrupted the judge and loudly argued with the state's attorney.
This is the most corrupt state's attorney in the country.
Prosecutors say he's a dangerous man with
During his trial, Burke had constant outbursts, fought with his own attorney and taped an innocent sign to a box for the jury to see. These rapists should be locked away forever. 20 years is too short a sentence, in my opinion. This man seems to think he is right and everyone else is wrong here.
Absolutely no remorse for his actions.
He, in his own mind, does nothing wrong. It's always somebody else's fault.
And he has a long rap sheet. Burke has been convicted of 17 different crimes in 3 different states.
Not only has it affected my life, it has had catastrophic effects on my family.
Today, the victim spoke out, saying the attack left her emotionally scarred with constant, painful flashbacks.
It's not about me anymore or about what it's done to me. That's all over the bridge. Now it's about James Burke and what he's capable of doing to people.
Victim lunging at the defendant moments after a judge acquitted Tevin Biles Thomas of the shooting deaths of 3 people at an Airbnb on New Year's Eve 2018. He's an Army soldier and the brother of Olympic star Simone Biles. The judge ruling there was not enough evidence for a conviction.
Mere minutes before he was removed from the courtroom today, Ignacio Rodriguez had stood before the judge.
Mr. Rodriguez, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty. By pleading to a lesser included charge of intentional or knowing injury to a child causing serious bodily injury, Rodriguez escaped a capital murder charge, but not all punishment.
It is the order of the court that you be sentenced to 50 years confinement.
Nor did he escape the misery surrounding the case. The 4-month-old's mother let Rodriguez know how much she hurt.
I hate more than anything what you did to her son. And for that, I can't ever see myself forgiving you. You were supposed to be our protector, not the one to break our hearts.
But when she talked to her daughter, Rodriguez started shouting.
As she gets older, she'll start asking questions.
Then tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her everything was supposed to be. Tell her the whole truth. Don't lie to her. Tell her the whole truth. Tell her the whole truth. Let's go. The whole truth.
Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
All right. Wrong guy.
Mr. Martin.
You are charged with tampering with physical evidence, assault in the first degree, convicted felon in possession of a handgun, criminal abuse in the first degree, and wanton endangerment first degree.
Do you understand those charges? Okay, do you understand the rights I gave you earlier? You wasn't in here for your rights?
Yes, he was. He's in here for life.
You understand? You understand them? All right. Are you going to be able to get your own attorney? Take these to 302. 302?
303 for
303.
628. Bond is set at $100,000 last night. County rejects any bond reduction. There's a no contact.
Sir.
Kilo, we need to get.
Are you working any place?
No contact with the child.
I understand, but are you going to be able to get your own attorney?
You said you can afford to hire an attorney?
Bring him back.
The bond.
Bring him back. Bring him back.
We need to raise the bond.
Bring him back.
Hers is $500,000. We need his $500,000.
Sir, you've been held in contempt of court. You have 6 months to serve. Thank you.
Are you going to increase the bond, aren't you?
Well, I just get 6 months to serve.
A A protest group has posted what appears to be the first video of the Supreme Court taken inside the courtroom with the court in session. The Supreme Court forbids cameras and all other electronic devices, but members of the protest group 99 Rise appear to have shot video on 2 separate occasions since October.
I rise on behalf of the vast majority of the American people.
This is a rare clip from a video inside the Supreme Court. Cameras are not allowed in the Supreme Court and spectators, lawyers and reporters must pass through a metal detector before entering the courtroom, and it sometimes is triggered by innocent items, including belts, shoes and watches. I was really shocked that this guy managed to get a camera inside the courtroom hall.
Who believe that money is not speech, corporations are not people, and our democracy should not be for sale to the highest bidder. Overturn Citizens United. Keep the capital in touch. We'll demand democracy. I rise on behalf of the vast majority of the American people who believe that money is not speech, corporations are not people, and our democracy should not be for sale to the highest bidder. Overturn Citizens United. Keep the capital in touch. We'll demand democracy.
To 15 years incarceration with Michigan Department of Corrections credit for 393 days concurrent with count 1. And on
What, no prosecutor? What you want to prosecute me for, man? I'm a good man. I ain't never do nothing, man. I ain't do shit to that child, man. What y'all prosecute me for, man? What y'all prosecute me for? What I do? I ain't do nothing. No, this ain't right. This is not right, man. This ain't right. Y'all made me for myself.
I'm the pastor. Calm down. Calm down. Listen, now, this ain't going to help. I'm your pastor. Calm down. I'm your pastor. Calm down. I'm your pastor. Calm down. Calm down, Sister Mary. Okay, this isn't going to help. This isn't going to help now. Okay? Okay. Y'all calm down. Have a seat. Have a seat. It's not going to help. Sit down and hear
But I mean, he's not here to admit.
He's still having fights. Okay?
I have no objection to those who want to leave leaving, because I will need to have the courtroom quiet for me to continue.
Right.
Can we approach, Your Honor?
Certainly.
Out. Out. You sit down. Jones, sit down. Sit down.
Tell him jump, nigga. Jump.
Sit down.
Yeah, they talk.
Read. Shit don't even matter no more, bro. Shit. Four of them, I swear to God. Read it, tell me, I swear to God, I don't know. Yeah, flip that shit.
I'm gonna need you to keep it quiet, or I'm gonna clear the courtroom. Just keep it quiet.
Never. You understand what I'm saying? I don't understand it. The whole crew here now, but y'all was never there for them. How many birthdays did you miss? Mikey, his ex-girlfriend, did more for them than any of y'all.
Mom, you have to stop. This is a hearing. Your attorney
Y'all
will
was
give you a
never there
chance
for
to
them.
speak.
You want to put on a show for the news, though?
Mr. Devil.
Your Honor, he had no knowledge of any of the
And then the door shit, you gonna get on the news and say what's absurd?
Okay, Mom, you're
they
not
were
going to be able to
raping my
stay in the
kids.
hearing.
Period.
You can't be quiet until it's your turn.
It's like a damn fool y'all putting on that show.
Step out here for me.
You gotta step
Raping my kids. You pathetic ass bitch, and he's a drunk. Now tell the truth on that.
South admittedly doesn't say that either father physically abused or tortured the children. This is a petition where the allegations are failure to protect. I don't want to argue the allegations at this point, but both fathers failed to support, care for their children for 2 years, at least 2 years. And for them to now come before this court and say we should be entitled to unsupervised visits is alarming. And
are you able to say why you were late to the hearing?
Mr. Berry, can you just talk to us how you feel?
Mr. Berry, we haven't had a chance to talk to you yet. What can we do with some of this?
He tried to be there for them. He would try to call, try to come over, and there's just a strenuous relationship between the two, and that always made it difficult.
Some would suggest he didn't do enough, that one of these kids, his kid, was in this freezer for as long as 2 years.
Many people didn't do enough in this to have a child dead for multiple years in a freezer. Whether my client has some level of blame in that, I don't know, and that'll be up for the judge to decide.
Whether Lehigh has it.
Fine. Can I then have, now Ms. Kolsky comes back after everything was finished except for those.
This attorney's interaction with the judge here is amazing. I've never seen anything like this before in a courtroom. This attorney has every right to walk out of the courtroom after the judge contradicts her in front of the defendant.
Those two pieces of paper, his Social Security earnings statements, which he doesn't have, and this supposed report that exists for Lehigh.
He gets his Social Security every year indicating
The earnings statement.
He gets his earnings statement. He gets it. He gets it every year. So she asked for it. Why didn't he provide it?
He doesn't have it.
He doesn't. He threw it away?
I would presume he did.
Oh, come on.
If you say he got it, Judge, I don't know.
Don't you get it?
No, I don't get it.
You don't get it, Judge. I get it.
I don't get it.
You get it? You get it? Everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it. I must be the one that doesn't get it.
Social Security sends it to your home
They do.
every year.
They sent it to my home 4 years ago. I haven't received it in the last 3.
Well, when did you become an illegal alien?
Judge,
It comes to you.
Judge, I am going to, that was a totally inappropriate comment.
I didn't mean it. I'm only, listen to me.
I'll have those headlines for you in just a minute, but first, a Butte man had to be held down by several police officers during an outburst in district court after receiving a pretty long prison sentence. James Wasson became irate after District Judge Kurt Kruger handed down a 35-year sentence to the Montana State Prison for several felony offenses. Police eventually got the 30-year-old Wasson under control, and he was removed from the courtroom after swearing at the judge. Wasson has a long history of drug-related offenses and probation violations.
Well, that's all for this video, guys. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching.